my body matured faster than most girls my age. When I turned 18, my overprotective brother worried I'd be taken advantage of, so he asked his best friend to look after me. But the first time we met, that man's eyes never left my body. After I graduated from college, he kept crossing the line again and again. By day, he was my boss, and by night, I was his personal assistant. For 4 years, we kept our affair a secret. He molded me into exactly what he liked, and the worst part, I let him. One day, his ex-fiancée came back from overseas. He slipped out of my bed in the middle of the night and rushed to the airport to pick her up. Humiliated but unwilling to let go, I followed him there, only to watch him gently stroke another woman's hair right in front of me. He turned to me and said, "Jennifer Huckabee, 4 years ago, you were the one who crawled into my bed while I was drunk. The way you're behaving now, it's really pathetic." The way he looked at her was soft, and the way he mocked me was sharp and deliberate. I suddenly realized he was right. This was meaningless. So I lowered my head, texted my brother to tell him I'd accept the Sinclair family marriage proposal, then looked up at that man and smiled. All right then. Goodbye. Chapter 1. Marvin Huckabee, my brother, called not long after. I could hear the relief in his voice through the call, surely because he thought I had finally let go of the man I had loved for years. What he did not know was that the man I was madly in love with was his best friend, Devin Woodford. After hanging up, I picked up the resignation letter I already prepared and headed for HR. However, the process stalled at the final step. "Ms. Huckabee, if you want to resign within a week, you'll need the CEO's signature for approval." Devin again. Even at the very end, I still could not avoid him. I tightened my grip on my phone, walked to the end of the empty hallway, and dialed that all too familiar number. The ringing went on for a long time. Just as I thought no one would pick up, the line clicked. A strange female voice came through. "Hello? Looking for Devin? He's in the shower." In the shower. Those 3 words stabbed my chest like 1,000 poison needles. Nonetheless, my voice stayed calm, almost unnaturally so. "No need, thank you." Before she could say anything else, I hung up. The screen went dark, reflecting my pale face. Less than 2 minutes later, my phone buzzed violently again. I stared at Devin's name on the screen for several seconds before answering. "Did you need something?" His tone was businesslike, cold and detached. Just last night, this same man had been on top of me, whispering my name intimately over and over again. My fingers whitened around the resignation letter. "Mr. Woodford, there's a document that needs your signature before the process can go through." He gave a low hum of acknowledgement, then added, almost as an afterthought, "Oh, right. Stop by later and pack up the rest of your stuff. She's moving in. The apartment in the western suburbs is empty. You can stay there. I promised Marvin I'd take care of you. 4 years ago, he pulled me into his bed while drunk, tossing me the charity of being his bedmate. 4 years later, under the excuse of loyalty to his best friend, he was offering me a place to live. His carefully considerate gestures were so absurd, they almost made me laugh. "That won't be necessary, Mr. Woodford," I said, forcing a smile. "I'm an adult. I can take care of myself." Once he signed the resignation form and I finished my last handover, the ridiculous 4 years between us would finally come to an end. Me? I was getting married. I opened my eyes in the hotel room as morning light streamed in. For the first time in years, I felt more awake than in any morning I had spent by Devin's side. I called a car and returned to the villa I'd lived in for 4 years. However, the moment I stepped inside, I almost thought I had walked into the wrong house. The once minimalist black and gray space was instead drenched in warm tones. The entryway wall, where I had begged him for a month to let me hang even a single plush toy, had been transformed into a display filled with stuffed animals. "Melissa likes it this way," Devin's voice sounded from behind me. When I turned, he looked slightly troubled. "She came by yesterday. Saw your things and got upset." It was not until he led me to the storage room that I understood what he meant. Chapter 2. In the corner, all my luggage was piled up like garbage. It was a chaotic mess of things that once held meaning. The diamond necklace Devin had given me was crushed beyond recognition, and the pair of mugs we made together were shattered into pieces. He sighed softly. "None of this is worth much anyway. Just throw it out. If you need something, I'll buy you new ones." "Not worth much?" My gaze fell on a small, colorful glass jar among the wreckage. The lid had broken open, revealing the folded paper stars inside. There were 1,001 of them, each one I had made back when I secretly loved him, each carrying a bit of affection I never dared to speak aloud. I picked up the cracked jar, then tossed it along with the other broken gifts into the trash bin nearby. Devon's brows furrowed instantly, but I just smiled faintly. You're right, Mr. Woodford. Things that aren't worth anything should be thrown away when they're dirty or broken. That included my foolish, misplaced feelings. Ignoring the sudden darkness that crossed his face, I lowered my head and pulled out the resignation letter from my bag. Mr. Woodford, this is my... Before I could finish, his phone rang. Melissa Nicholson's voice came through clearly in the quiet storage room. Dev, it's raining. Come pick me up. The emotions on his face vanished in an instant. He did not even glance at the document in my hand and signed his name at the bottom. Take a taxi home. Text me when you get there. By the time Devon drove off, the rain became a downpour. The villa sat halfway up the mountain, so there was no way to hail a taxi. So, I opened my umbrella and started walking downhill against the wind. Suddenly, I slipped. Pain shot through my knees and elbows as I hit the ground hard. Ignoring the sting, I clutched my bag tightly. It held my resignation letter. If that got wet, I would have to see him again, and I did not want that. Just then, a familiar black luxury car came speeding from afar. It did not slow down as it passed. Water splashed all over me, soaking me completely. Through the passenger side window, I caught a glimpse. It was Melissa, perfectly made up, sitting beside Devon, who smiled at her tenderly. My jaw clenched. Pressing my palm to the cold, wet ground, I forced myself to stand. Pain seared through my knees, but I straightened my back and walked away in the opposite direction of the car. The resignation paperwork only needed 3 days to process. On the last day, I was in the office, wrapping up my final handover. My phone lit up with a message from Devon. Bring in a cup of hot honey water. Technically, I was still his assistant, so I had to finish my duties. I made the drink, then knocked on his office door. As soon as I entered, I froze. Melissa was lying on the couch, her head resting on Devon's lap. He was gently massaging her lower abdomen. In these 4 years with him, when I felt the cramps during my period, I would curl up at my desk, barely able to straighten my back. All he ever did was toss me a box of painkillers. Don't let it affect your work. That was all he said, and coldly at that. My old self, the pathetic self, foolishly fell for that subterranean act. Keeping my expression neutral, I walked past them and set the cup on his desk. Mr. Woodford, your hot honey water is here. I turned to leave, but Melissa suddenly stood up. Wait. Her eyes studied me. You're Marvin Huckabee's sister? Before I could answer, her hand had swung across my face. My ear buzzed, my cheek instantly burning and swelling. Devon shot to his feet, startled. Mel, what are you doing? Her eyes reddened, tears welling as she pointed at me and turned to him. She's from the Huckabee family and journal. She could have lived like a princess, but instead, she came to you as an assistant. And you're telling me she doesn't like you? The air froze. Devon's gaze flickered across my face, then he turned, gently pulling Melissa into his arms, wiping away her tears. His voice was soft, tinged with helplessness and unmistakable affection. Even if she does like me, it's all one-sided. Because in my heart, there's only room for you. Chapter 3. A flash of triumph crossed Melissa's face as she nestled into Devon's arms, her voice sweet and coy. Then fire her. I don't ever want to see her again. Devon's brows tightened almost imperceptibly, a faint hesitation flickering in his eyes. Seeing that, Melissa picked up the cup of hot honey water on the desk, and in the very next second, she screamed as she flung it toward me. Ah. Dev, it's hot. Her scream was sharp enough to pierce through the air. As she clutched her reddened fingertips, Devon's face instantly darkened. His cold gaze locked on me, completely ignoring the angry burns spreading across my bare arm. Jennifer. You've been with me for 4 years, and you can't even handle something this simple? Were you targeting Mel on purpose? Before I could explain, he turned to call his secretary and Ms. Lane, Ms. Huckabee made a serious mistake. Dock her full month's salary and bonus. Also, announce her error publicly in next week's company meeting. Nancy Lane shot me a quick, uneasy glance before speaking softly. But, Mr. Woodford. Ms. Huckabee has already resigned. The moment those words left her mouth, Melissa suddenly gasped and cried out in pain. Dev, since you're so eager to defend your precious assistant, I'll just leave, forever. Devon's pupils constricted. Ignoring whatever the secretary said, he wrapped Melissa tightly in his arms. Mel, don't. Please. His icy glare cut into me like a blade. Jennifer, if this ever happens again, go back to journal. Even if Marvin himself comes begging, I won't let it slide. My burned arm throbbed, cold sweat rolling down my temples, yet my voice came out steady and quiet. Don't worry. It won't happen again. He clearly had not expected that response. For a brief second, he froze. Then, without another word, he scooped Melissa into his arms. Come. We're going to the hospital. As his gaze swept over the blistered skin on my arm, his brows furrowed even tighter. You're coming too. Worried about getting an infection, I said nothing and followed. In the back seat, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Devin. I acted out of panic back there. But I've already lost Mel once, I can't lose her again. If you're upset, I'll make it up to you. I stared at those words, then at the man in the front seat, fussing over Melissa like she was made of glass. The whole thing was so ridiculous, I almost laughed. With one tap, I blocked him. The next second, a friend request popped up. It was from my arranged fiancé, Francis Sinclair. We had met once before. I took a slow breath, then pressed the accept button. The car stopped at the hospital's emergency entrance. Just as I opened the door to get out, another car came speeding from the side. Instinctively, Devin shielded Melissa in his arms. Meanwhile, I stumbled backward, falling hard into a nearby flowerbed. When I got up, I saw him cradling Melissa as he rushed toward the ER. Her hand had only a minor scrape. Miss, your arm's bleeding. You need to have it dressed, said a stranger as he handed me a clean handkerchief. I pressed it against the burn and murmured a quick thanks. Without a moment's hesitation, I walked to the curb and flagged down a cab. Airport, please. The car pulled away, heading in a direction without Devin. Meanwhile, after settling Melissa in a hospital room, Devin suddenly remembered my injury. He asked a nurse for some burn ointment. Where's the woman who came in with me? Her name's Jennifer Huckabee. What room is she in? The nurse checked the records and shook her head. Sorry, sir. There's no patient by that name. Devin froze, his grip on the ointment tube tightening. Then, his phone rang. It was a call from Marvin. The moment he answered, my brother's furious roar exploded through the speaker. Is this how you take care of my sister, Devin? She's covered in injuries, you jerk. Devin frowned, instantly assuming I had run to complain to my brother. His voice dropped, heavy with irritation. Is she with you? Put her on. Go screw yourself. My brother glanced at me, standing there in the airport terminal, and his tone was sharp with anger. If you really want to make it up to her, then show up in 2 days. She's getting married, and as you've taken care of her for so long, you'd better be there. Chapter 4, The Bluff. Devin didn't show up in 2 days. He didn't call, and he didn't text. According to Marvin, Devin had laughed when he heard the news, claiming it was a childish tactic to make him jealous. He told my brother that he would send a gift, but he wouldn't indulge my tantrum by attending a fake wedding. He truly believed I was incapable of leaving him. He thought my world revolved around his orbit, that I was a satellite that would eventually crash back into him if gravity, and his silence, did its work. But he was wrong. The wedding was held at the Sinclair estate, a sprawling manor by the coast. It wasn't the rushed, shotgun affair Devin likely imagined. The Sinclairs moved with efficiency. I sat in the dressing room, the white satin of my gown cool against my skin. The sleeves were long, lace-trimmed, perfectly concealing the bandages on my arm and the bruises on my knees. Does it hurt? I looked up. Francis Sinclair stood at the door. He was a tall man, broader in the shoulders than Devin, with sharp features softened by a pair of wire-rimmed glasses. He didn't have Devin's aggressive charisma, he had the quiet, terrifying stillness of a deep ocean. The dress? No, I lied. Francis walked over, checking his watch. I meant your heart, Jennifer. I froze. We had only met twice. Once at a gala years ago, and yesterday to sign the prenuptial agreement. I know why you accepted, he said, handing me a small velvet box. You need an exit. And I need a wife to stop my grandmother from setting me up with heiresses I can't stand. It's a transaction. He opened the box. Inside was a simple, vintage pearl choker. It was elegant, understated, and worth more than Devin's entire apartment. But, Francis continued, his eyes scanning my face, I don't damage my investments. And I don't let others damage them either. If you walk out that door with me, you are a Sinclair. That means no one looks down on you again. I took the pearls, my fingers trembling slightly. Why me, Francis? He adjusted his cufflinks, offering a faint, unreadable smile. Because I saw you at the airport 3 days ago. You were bleeding, limping, and crying. But you didn't call him back. You got in a cab and left. I like resilience. He offered me his arm. Ready to shock the world, Mrs. Sinclair? Chapter 5, The Uninvited Guest. The ceremony was beautiful, but to me, it felt like a dream sequence. It wasn't until the reception that reality crashed the party. The heavy oak doors of the ballroom swung open. The chatter died down. Devin Woodford stood there. He wasn't wearing a tuxedo. He was in a gray business suit, looking disheveled, as if he had come straight from a meeting. Melissa was clinging to his arm, looking around with wide, judgmental eyes. Marvin stepped forward, his face red with anger, but Devin pushed past him, his eyes locking onto me. I was standing by the champagne tower, Francis's hand resting lightly on the small of my back. When Devin saw that hand, his jaw clenched. He marched over, pulling Melissa along like a prop. Jennifer, he barked, his voice echoing slightly. Stop this. The joke is over. The room went silent. I swirled the champagne in my glass, turning slowly to face him. Mr. Woodford. I didn't think you made the guest list. Devin let out a sharp, incredulous laugh. You actually hired actors? Rented a venue? Jesus, Jen, how much did this cost you? I told you, if you wanted a raise or a vacation, just ask. You don't need to stage a wedding to get my attention. He reached out, trying to grab my wrist, the injured one. Come on. Mel is tired. We're going home. Before his fingers could graze the silk of my sleeve, a hand intercepted his wrist. Francis didn't squeeze. He didn't twist. He just held Devin's arm in place with an iron grip, his expression bored. Mr. Woodford, Francis said, his voice smooth and low. Touching my wife requires a level of intimacy you do not possess. Devin ripped his arm away, sneering. Wife. Please. Who is this clown, Jen? Some freelancer? I'm Francis Sinclair, he said simply. The color drained from Devin's face. He knew the name. Everyone in the business world knew Sinclair Corporation. It was the predator that ate companies like Devin's for breakfast. Sinclair? Devin stammered, looking between us. You actually married him? Yes, I said, stepping closer to Francis. I looked Devin in the eye, really looked at him. I saw the arrogance, the confusion, and the sudden, creeping panic. I resigned, Devin. I moved out. And I got married. None of this is for you. In fact, for the first time in 4 years, absolutely nothing I'm doing is for you. Melissa tugged at his arm, sensing the shift in the atmosphere. Dev, let's go. She's crazy. But Devin didn't move. He stared at the pearl necklace around my neck, then at the way Francis stood protectively beside me. You love me, he whispered, as if trying to cast a spell that had stopped working. You've loved me for years. I did, I replied softly. But then you watched your girlfriend burn me with boiling water and threatened to fire me for it. That kind of love doesn't survive, Devin. It dies. And it rots. Security, Francis signaled. 2 large men stepped forward. As they escorted a stunned Devin and a furious Melissa out, Devin looked back over his shoulder. His eyes weren't mocking anymore. They were terrified. Chapter 6, The Withdrawal. The first month of marriage was strange. I expected coldness. I expected to be ignored. Instead, I got peace. Francis was busy, but he was considerate. He noticed things. When he saw me struggling to blow dry my hair with my healing arm, he didn't make a big deal of it. He just took the dryer from my hand and finished the job, his fingers careful not to pull. You flinch a lot, he noted one evening over dinner. I looked down at my plate. Habit. Unlearn it, he said, pouring me a glass of wine. In this house, you don't need to walk on eggshells. If you break a glass, we buy another. If you're tired, you sleep. If you're angry, you speak. While I was healing, Devin's world was burning. Marvin told me about it with gleeful satisfaction. Without me, Devin's schedule fell into chaos. I had organized his life down to the minute. I knew which clients needed coffee and which needed scotch. I knew his mother's birthday, his allergies, and where he left his keys. Melissa tried to step in as his assistant, claiming she could do it better. She lasted 3 days. She mixed up confidential files. She forgot to remind him of a board meeting, causing him to lose a major contract. She spilled coffee on a server, destroying a month of data. My phone, which I had changed, remained silent. But my old email, which I still monitored for lingering handover issues, was flooding. From Devin Woodford. Subject, stop this. Body, the files for the merger. Where are they? Melissa can't find them. Come back to the office tomorrow. I'll double your salary. Stop playing house with Sinclair. From Devin Woodford. Subject, Jen? Body, I'm sick. I have a fever. You usually make that soup. Just bring some over. Please. I deleted them all. Chapter 7, The Encounter. 3 months later, I began working at an art gallery. It was a passion I had abandoned to serve Devin. Francis encouraged it. You have an eye for beauty, he had said. Use it. One rainy afternoon, I was arranging a display near the window when the bell chimed. I turned, a polite smile on my face, only to have it freeze. Devin stood there. He looked terrible. He had lost weight. His clothes were wrinkled, his eyes bloodshot. He looked like a shadow of the arrogant man I knew. It took me weeks to find where you were, he rasped, water dripping from his coat onto the floor. You shouldn't be here, Devin. He walked toward me, ignoring the staff-only sign. I fired her. I paused. What? Melissa. I broke up with her. I kicked her out. He said it like he was presenting me with a trophy. She's gone, Jen. It's just me now. He stopped in front of me, reaching out as if to touch my face, but stopping short when he saw the diamond ring on my finger. I made a mistake, he choked out. I thought she was the one I wanted because I lost her once. But having her back, it was a nightmare. She's selfish. She's cruel. She's not you. He looked at me with desperate, wet eyes. I miss you. Not just the work. I miss you. I miss the way you smell. I miss your voice. I can't sleep. The apartment feels like a tomb. Devin. Leave him, he interrupted, his voice rising. I know it's a fake marriage. Marvin told me it was an arrangement. You don't love him. Come back to me. I'll marry you. I swear. Right now. We can go to the courthouse. He fell to his knees. The great Devin Woodford, kneeling on the floor of an art gallery. I love you, Jennifer. I realized it too late, but I love you. I looked down at him. For years ago, I would have killed to hear those words. I would have given my soul for them. But now? I felt pity. Stand up, Devin, I said quietly. Not until you say you'll come back. I'm not coming back. He froze. Why? You love me. You can't just turn that off. I didn't turn it off, I said, touching the pearls at my throat. You killed it. Bit by bit. Every time you looked at her while I was in your bed. Every time you mocked me. And that day at the hospital, when you left me bleeding in the dirt to chase a woman with a scratch. I shook my head. That was the moment, Devin. That was the funeral of my love for you. The bell chimed again. Francis walked in, shaking his umbrella. He took in the scene instantly, Devin on his knees, me standing tall. Francis didn't get angry. He didn't yell. He walked over, placed a hand on my shoulder, and looked down at Devin with mild distaste. Jennifer, we have reservations at 7 o'clock. Are you ready? He didn't even acknowledge Devin's presence as a threat. To Francis, Devin was just furniture. Devin stood up slowly, his face crumbling. He looked from Francis to me, seeing the easy comfort between us. Do you love him? Devin asked, his voice cracking. I looked at Francis. I looked at the man who had healed me, respected me, and given me wings. I'm learning to, I said honestly. And he's making it very easy. Devin turned and walked out into the rain. He didn't look back. Chapter 8, The Downfall. Devin didn't recover. Rumors circulated in the industry. Woodford Holdings was unstable. The CEO was erratic. He was drinking during the day. He was picking fights with partners. 6 months later, he made a fatal error. In a desperate bid to prove he was still powerful, he tried to undercut a Sinclair subsidiary. It was a sloppy, emotional move. Francis crushed him. It wasn't a war, it was an execution. Francis legally and methodically dismantled Devin's leverage, bought out his debt, and forced a board vote. Devin was ousted from his own company. I didn't ask Francis to do it. But I didn't ask him to stop either. He hurt you, Francis said simply when I saw the newspapers. I don't leave loose ends. Chapter 9, The Final Goodbye. A year after our wedding, I received a letter. It was from Devin. No email this time. Handwriting. Jennifer. I'm leaving journal. I have nothing left here. The company is gone. My friends, including Marvin, don't talk to me. Melissa is suing me for emotional distress. Ironic, isn't it? I'm going to attempt to start over somewhere else. I'm not writing to ask for you back. I know now that I never deserved you. I treated you like an object, and I lost the only real thing in my life. I saw a photo of you and Sinclair in the magazine yesterday. You were smiling. A real smile. I haven't seen that on you in years. I'm sorry. For the hot water. For the airport. For the 4 years I stole. Goodbye, Jen. I read the letter on the terrace of the villa. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the garden. Bad news? Francis asked, setting down 2 cups of tea. I folded the letter and placed it on the table. No. Just old news. I looked at my husband. Over the past year, the contract had blurred. We laughed together. We shared secrets. We shared a bed, not out of duty, but out of desire. He was my best friend. And yes, I loved him. Francis, I said. Thank you. For what? For seeing me when I was invisible. He smiled, that rare, genuine smile he saved only for me. He reached over and took my hand, intertwining our fingers. I didn't just see you, Jennifer. I recognized you. I leaned back, watching the sun dip below the horizon. The scars on my arm had faded to faint white lines. The memories of the cold office, the humiliation, and the rain-soaked airport felt like a story about someone else. I was Jennifer Sinclair. I was loved. And I was finally, truly, free. The end.